next guest won the Stag Hot Press Award for his ace guitar playing, his Powerhouse Defender album, and for keeping the spirit of the blues greats ablaze. Would you please welcome the total and utter king of rhythm and blues, Rory Gallagher. Rory, great to see you back touring again. Can you tell us a little bit about the Defender album?
Yeah, it's sort of, we did an album called Torch, and it wasn't satisfactory in the end, and it was a good thing that it turned out that way, because sometimes it's good to get really disgusted with the stuff you're doing and give yourself a real ticking off and start again. Costs a fortune, but that's more or less how we started the album, yeah.
So you actually recorded the entire album and then just threw it out?
Yeah,
this is Torch, yeah.
No, I feel fairly reasonable about this particular album. It's nice and to the point, and it has a nice mood to it, I think. It's my own review anyway. Yeah.
Is that the reason for the delay? I mean, it's been a few years sort of since we've seen you in around and about. That sort of torch that was taking up your time?
I was quite busy. I wasn't back in Ireland for a long time, but we were playing a lot on the continent. We were in America for a couple of trips. We also played behind the Iron Curtain. So I was more active than people would know, but unfortunately if you're not playing in this part of the world, people will think you faded away or something.
What was it like behind the Iron Curtain?
Interesting, very, very, I don't know, it's the unusual thing in Yugoslavia and Hungary, for instance, they don't have big glossy colour posters, you know, it's all very low-key, which suited us in a funny kind of way. But people were very nice to us.
That's something that seems to strike me about you, that you manage to be like, you're incredibly popular everywhere, and yet you remain kind of a low-key kind of person. Is that something that you really try to be?
Well, I think any self-respecting performer has to keep, you can't go for the brass ring all the time. You got to keep your sense of independence, and just if you end up going high profile all the time, you'll end up like Gary Glitter, you know. And I don't want to, no disrespect, Gary, but I like it to keep 1% of myself to myself, you know.
Right. The touring thing as well seems very, very important to you.
It is, yeah.
You've been doing it for how long? 25 years now, though. Almost.
More or less.
Do you get tired of it at all, or is it the same now? Is it as exciting as when you started off?
Oh, it is. It's more challenging now than it was when I started off, in a funny kind of way. I think every now and then you think you've just achieved what you were aimed to get to go for in the start, but the longer you do it, the more you find that you don't really understand the whole thing. The more you need to challenge yourself, and it's not just good enough to do a good concert tour or make one or two good albums, or you really have to keep pushing yourself further and further.
Have audiences changed at all, do you think, over the years that you've been working?
Well, the strange thing at the moment, we've got a peculiar mixture from very young people to...
It's kind of a revival at the moment, isn't it?
Well, it's a great mixture, which suits me fine. I always had that attitude. I think if you just have one cult audience, it's no use.
Fashion sort of thing.
Yeah,
it goes,
a broad mixture of people.
Just come out to the audience now. There's a gentleman up there in the middle. A question.
Don't mean to speak behind your back. Apart from any pun on the album title, how much did it actually cost you to refresh Defender?
It varies. Sometimes the guy can do it for £35, sometimes £50, it depends. But the poor guitar is nearly finished. It's super glue is holding it together.
Battered, bruised and exhausted.
There's another one up here behind me. Yeah.
I was wondering, you hit the big time, so to speak, in the 70s, right? So your musical influence were obviously in the 60s. So would you care to tell us who they were?
Well, the funny thing for me is that I respect musicians going right back to the 30s. You might not know them. They're country blues artists, right through to the 50s rock and roll artists like Gene Vincent, Eddie Cochran. I would say my main influences were Chuck Berry, Muddy Waters, Woody Guthrie, Lead Belly, but the list for me keeps on going, you know.
Do you think people starting off now, the whole sort of blues thing and roots music is very much coming back to the fore now, and do you think people starting off listen to the same people that you would have listened to?
I hope so. I think there's a touch of that, because if you're using electronic drum machines all the time, it's fighting against the natural heartbeat,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that people, with all due respect to visual music, we call it, I think even very young people still get a kick out of a guy sitting on a chair playing natural music with his hands.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anything new happening in blues, do you think? Anything exciting?
Well, there's obviously the great success of Robert Cray
Yeah.
and Stevie Ray Vaughan, but it's this evolving type of music, you know. So there's some fantastic artists there who haven't been discovered yet or haven't been given a proper chance, like John Hammond is a New York blues singer. But I think it's looking healthy at the moment on the blues horizon.
Well, listen, thanks very much for coming in. Best luck with the rest of the tour and, of course, the new album. And it's over to Eithne.